GM and welcome to episode 41 of the Cryptotecher podcast. Traveling is something that most of us love and enjoy, but unfortunately oftentimes there is a lot of hassle when it comes to planning and organizing trips. This is in many cases due to a fragmented software landscape used by the multitude of players in the travel industry. And this is exactly what Chain4Travel wants to challenge and improve. They are the initiator of Camino, the first Web3 travel ecosystem, and they are backed by a massive conglomerate of travel industry companies supporting this cause. We've had the chance to talk to Pablo Castillo, who is not only the CTO at Chain4Travel, but also is a veteran in the travel industry. So if you like to find out how your trips will improve in the future, you shouldn't miss out. And now enjoy episode 41 with Pablo Castillo. Pablo, it's a pleasure having you here.
Hi, Dominic. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you very much. You are the CTO and co-founder of Chain4Travel. Maybe you can give us a brief introduction on what Chain4Travel is.
So Chain4Travel is a Swiss startup. We see ourselves as a travel tech company, which happens to have selected blockchain as the base infrastructure for as we call it, global operating system for the travel industry. So what we have built is actually a fork of Avalanche, which we call Camino, in the name of the Camino Network Foundation. And that is the blockchain for the travel industry, which currently is being used by a lot of travel companies across the spectrum. So we work with airlines, airports, tour operators, whatever compromises actually the whole chain of the travel industry, and help them to understand the potential of blockchain technology.
Okay. And I mean, then I guess your background is also in the travel industry, right?
Yes, I've been working all my life in the travel industry. Actually, my first jobs was selling trips before moving into the IT and international project management. That's where I first found out how defragmented and legacy-based our travel industry systems are. So every market, every vertical. So verticals are like hotel chains, you have the airline industry, the airports. They're working on complete different systems and sometimes very, very old systems. So they are honestly older than you and myself together. And so that's why we thought, okay, the travel industry needs an upgrade on the one hand side, and we were looking for the technology which can be used in the travel industry. We came across blockchain. We liked it very much because on the one hand side, it's completely decentralized. On the other hand side, it mitigates some of the problems we have today, like for instance, unverified information. So one example is, for instance, if you go on TripAdvisor, 10 to 20% of the reviews are fake. So you have no ways of knowing, has that person really been there? No kind of verification behind. Yeah. We have quite high payment costs in a low margin business. So 3% payment charges, 24 billion of fraud every year in the hotel industry alone with credit card and chargebacks. So that's something where, of course, with blockchain technology, which has the unique value proposition that in the same transaction, you can not only do a booking, but also do the payment. And the payment, for instance, only possible if there are funds, if you want to not work with some kind of other smart contracts. So it solves a lot of the problems. And what we especially liked, it's completely agnostic. It doesn't matter what kind of transaction you make. The metadata is different, but actually you can use this technology, as mentioned, for airports, airlines, industries. We have companies working on decentralized reviews, decentralized surveys. We have companies working now on prototypes for frontline worker redemption and tipping systems. So it can be used for a lot of different things. Most of our partners are currently quite focused on the booking part, but also on the loyalty part and on new business models, because that's also something nice we liked about blockchain, that this technology does not only allow to interact Web 2-ish with each other, but it also allows for transfer of assets. So one of the typical use cases a few companies are working on, like Trips in India currently, is that you can buy and book something on an OTA website, for instance, and that booking belongs to you. In case you cannot travel or would like to sell it off because you make some profit, you can resell that to somebody else. And blockchain technology enables this kind of transfer of assets and also adds to a higher trust level, because both parties can be secure. If I send somebody a thing, I get the money, which today in the eBay world, if you have sold something on eBay, you always have to trust the other party. Does he send the money? And if he sent the money, you have to trust that you really receive what you bought on the internet, right? And this is actually basically out of the box with blockchain possible.
Yeah, but you said before, and when you just started explaining that the travel industry is very fragmented,
Yeah,
and the systems are super old, which I can imagine, because I mean, when did or commercial tourism really become a thing? I would say probably at least in Europe after the Second World War, sometime afterwards,
exactly.
50s, 60s maybe, and then with the upcoming, well, the first computer systems, probably that was when the first systems were designed. So I can imagine that a lot of them are quite old. But isn't that partly something where the travel industry is also benefiting from, in a way where I could imagine that it serves somehow as a moat towards competitors, to not work together that strongly, but to try and really have your own systems in a closed way where others cannot access them. So, and
Some,
what I actually want to go
yeah,
towards too is, my thought is, you probably, when you pitched that idea, or when you came up with it, you probably had to, well, raise interest from the travel companies first of all, because
yeah.
otherwise you are developing something where the potential benefiting parties are not really interested in, right?
Absolutely. You always need a product fit if you wanted to go to a
Yeah.
market. And the good thing is the three founders and also most of our team have long years of experience in the travel industry. So we know what we are talking about and we know what kind of issues there is. Yes, what you mentioned is true. Some of the parties would like to fend them off for
Mm.
specific markets or for specific products, but that gets more and more difficult in a very connected world, right? And
Mm.
actually, it's more vice versa. More companies want to grow. They want to grow because international competition has scaled up the last 20 years. I mean, when we look back at the beginning of internet, that has put a lot of pressure. Like today, like similar to the Web3, we have a few big companies like Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb, who are actually dominant, and they
Yeah.
dictate actually price, conditions, but also access to technology. And in order to compete for a lot of companies, there's actually only one way forward. They need to grow. I mean,
Mm.
and the margins are under pressure. So the only way to grow is if you to expand your customer base. In most of the cases, this is only possible, and either by pivoting in from B2C to B2B or B2B to B2C, or growing outside your home market, which
Yeah.
then usually comes exactly the problem with the technical hurdles. I said, okay, distribution systems are different. Your in-house system may not be possible to handle several languages or char sets or
Mm.
whatever. And looking at the legacy systems, I mean, on the one hand side, it's also a huge risk for companies. I mean,
Mm.
some of those programs are still programmed on COBOL or some older technologies, which basically
Mm.
you don't find any new young people
Yeah.
to keep that systems running and on. Corona has nothing done but accentuate these kind of problems because a lot of IT departments in the travel industry were depleted. On the one hand side, because the IT guys either left because they didn't want
Mm-hmm.
to work at home or reduce the salary, as most of us in the travel industry had to do, or they went to another industry. I mean, because
Yeah.
they're agnostic, so they can easily
Yeah.
switch, and there's a high
Yeah.
demand of IT talents, right? So I mean, looking at the whole industry, I mean, on the one hand side, you have this legacy issue. On the other hand side, you have a lot of APIs because all these systems are usually catering for a single use case, single process, single product. And then you start connecting to all the other things because if you look at most of the websites, everybody wants to offer everything, right? I mean,
Mm.
airlines started offering hotels, car rentals, insurances,
Yeah.
whatever. Hotel industry is doing the same. This is, of course, upselling, so
Yeah.
increasing your sales and margins through corporations, but that needs to be maintained. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to work on those APIs. And this is actually what we thought, okay, our vision is that we have a global system which is agnostic. Anybody can use it with same standards. And of course, we are connecting the systems as well to the legacy world through APIs because the products and the ERP systems are still there. So this is transition phase. But over
Yeah.
time, we think for an industry which is based like a huge supply chain. I mean, imagine your last trip. The moment you leave your house till you reach the destination and back, you go to so many different
Mm-hmm.
checkpoints, right? You
Yeah.
go so different partners working together. Some of those partners even share the information of you,
Yeah.
but some of them don't even get the updates. So this is also one of the visions where we have, if we really reach the point that most of the travel industry can work together on a system which is decentralized, there's no vendor lock-in, so it doesn't belong to anybody, everybody can use it. Then this buzzword which we have been basically marketing since 20 years, connected trip, seamless travel, it becomes a reality. Because everybody who has been traveling around, you know how it is. You need this kind of confirmation there, you need this access there. So you're always looking for that, and the health passport and so on.
And you need to download 3 different apps to do one trip, or it feels like,
And this is exactly the reason why it doesn't work today, because the systems are so fragmented. The other thing is, for us, it's also important to prepare the travel industry a little bit for the future. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball where we can see what's happening in the future, but we know a few things. So we know that customers will be running around with wallets, right? I mean, Google Wallet, Apple Wallet is there. Currently, the topic of digital assets, it's not yet very extensive in those wallets because the legal framework in the US is not yet there, the SAC, but we already saw that Google is playing around with in-game NFTs, so that's also already first time digital assets are being transferred. And so that's one thing, so wallets. That's the second thing we know is all central banks are working on CBDC. I mean, if you go to cbdctracker.org, you see actually the progress, and I would say half of the planet is working on digital money, not talking crypto, so digital money. So our customers will be running around with digital money in the future. Then we have the third reality that most of the governments are working on digital IDs. Be it passport, health data, driving license, insurances, policies, you name it, right? So if you take these 3 components, a wallet or something on your device where you store this information, money plus digital IDs, the way we book and interact with customers will be completely changing in future. So our vision is a little bit the customer connects himself to the front end, be it a D-app or some kind of company website, be it an airline. He basically connects his wallet, gives consent that the website can read the content of the wallet. That means we can do preferences, curated content, personalization, something we've also been talking about, and it's getting harder and harder and harder because cookies are dead. Then you book your flights or your products, basically in the same step you pay for it, and you pass on your personal data GDPR conform. So that's a little bit the vision where also the European Union is actually currently working on.
But wouldn't you, in order to actually, make that vision a reality or work on that vision becoming a reality eventually, need a lot of buy-ins from potential partners within the travel industry, because there are so many players on that market and there are so many APIs, as you said. So there is a large variety of different parties involved. Absolutely. Which would eventually need to support Chain4Travel / Camino in order to make that vision become a reality, right?
Absolutely. Currently, we have 150 partners from the travel industry, where they are already looking into use cases. So we have 3 tiers in the Camino network. We have supporters. Those are companies who express their interest to be in the loop, to learn, because they see and want to learn, and they see, hey, the storyline makes sense. There's something about it. Then we have the builders. So roughly 20% of those companies are already live building. So for instance, this month, Sleep.io, the first Web3 native OTA, should launch. Really looking forward to that one. And we have other launches as well coming in the next few weeks. And the third one is to become a validator. I mean, the Camino blockchain is a little bit special. We call it a consortium blockchain. One of the reasons why we forked was actually because in a complete public blockchain, you don't know who the validators are and what kind of transactions there is. And we believe that the global travel industry, I mean, it's an 8 trillion industry, as you said. If you count everything, that's the highest number you will find, huge. 8 to 9 trillion. It's one of the biggest employer worldwide. So it's a huge industry, huge amount of different kind of use cases, and so it already qualifies for a known blockchain, we would say, who covers this specifica. And what we wanted to have is we wanted actually only to have validators who have the same interest. I mean, in a lot of blockchain, you have the miners and then you have the builders and stuff like that, and there's a conflict of interest. Miners want high revenues or rewards or fees because they make their money out of it. For us, it is actually opposite. We want very, very low transaction fees, and the consortium can actually vote on that, how high the transaction fee should be. So it's completely decentralized. We've built that, and the Camino Network Foundation, ourselves, we only have one vote. So every company needs to go to a KYB, needs to have exactly the same stake, and needs to have some ties to the travel industry to become a validator.
KYB is know your business, like know your customer, KYC exactly. Process.
So basically, you are being vetted from an external company. One of the reasons why we do KYB is also the trust factor. Most of the companies would like to scale. all companies have issues scaling outside of their continent, because that usually means, okay, you need to have a representative or some satellite offices, you need a lot of paperwork and so on. And now matching a system where basically you have a smart contract, which is KYB on your end, and you have somebody who wants to use the smart contract who is also KYB. So this whole process of let's dance around contracts, let's negotiate and so on is actually already gone. The trust is already done on the system, right? And the conditions are in the smart contract, either you agree or not.
But how do you see yourself? Then I don't mean you as a person, right? I mean the business, because eventually, do you see yourself as an infrastructure provider or as the blockchain foundation? I mean, like foundation as in foundation and not the base layer. But I mean, what's your job that you actually try to fulfill there?
So we have been tasked by the Camino Network Foundation, who really is a non-profit foundation set up here in Switzerland in Zug, to build this. So they have sold tokens. We are being paid by them. And
they have already been sold, those tokens?
Yes. So we had a seed investment round and also a private token sale last summer, where we raised money. And now we are actually using that money to build, on the one hand side, the technical infrastructure, which is live already. And we, of course, are further enhancing that with additional features. Currently, we are very much focused on what we call the T-Messenger. So it's a touristic messaging services, which uses wallet-to-wallet communication on an encrypted basis, which then talks to the legacy systems. And basically our Chain4Travel is like the development arm of the Camino Network Foundation. And what we do is develop the infrastructure, but we also help companies. So we do a lot of education. We help companies with hackathons. We help companies with consultancy to better understand what the potential is to solve some kind of business use case, because this is actually what we want to do. We don't want to do some crypto, or we don't want to do some kind of NFTs. We want to solve real life use cases.
Yeah. Because and then I assume probably this is also the business model for Chain4Travel, right? I mean, yes, you received some of the funds that the Camino Network Foundation generated through the pre-seed and the initial token sale, but I guess you eventually have to build a sustainable business model for yourself as well. So I would assume that maybe you can explain that. What you sell is what you actually generate some revenue with is the whole part of educating, onboarding new partners, receiving a part of probably their revenue that they would then generate via the Camino Network Foundation, and so on and so forth. Maybe we can explain a bit on that.
That's correct. So our main income stream is the Camino Network Foundation, but we are more and more offering other kinds of services, like you mentioned, to help these partners. We are not building solutions on top of Camino ourselves, except the messenger, because that's an integral part of the ecosystem itself to connect Web 2 and Web 3. And what we have is also a variety of different kind of partners which can help and enable actually travel companies to build this solution. Because let's face it, for the travel industry, blockchain is quite new. There have been a lot of companies already playing around with blockchain, but nobody has actually built a layer 1 blockchain. This is what our job was. And now, of course, this ecosystem of companies needs support. So we have invited as well companies who do development services, smart contract auditing, DApps conceptualizing, into the network itself, because for them it's a great opportunity to tap into an ecosystem which is untapped so far. So a lot of new business opportunities. And for us, it's great because through these partnerships, those companies can help those companies onboard. A lot of them offer co-piloting, upskilling, helping actually also the IT departments to better understand the technology, because so far it's not widespread within the IT departments.
Yeah, I can imagine. Basically, you're providing the foundation for others to come up with their own ideas and to build something that potentially evolves into something way larger, and actually provide them with the foundation for it. Short break. If you like this episode of Crypto Ticker, hit the pause button and leave us a rating and a subscribe. This helps us quite a bit as a podcast, and we appreciate any feedback. And if you need more insights and info after the episode, just check out cryptoticker.io. There you can find everything about cryptocurrencies, Web3, NFTs, and much more. Already since 2015, the Crypto Ticker team has been taking care of offering newbies and pros a home in the crypto space. On cryptoticker.io, you will find new articles and insights every day, packed with news, tips, background info, and exciting insights. In the Crypto Ticker Discord, you can exchange ideas with thousands of like-minded people, ask questions, make contacts, and much more. Take a look at the show notes right now, because there you will find all the links to Crypto Ticker and you can directly become a part of the community. And now enjoy the rest of the episode of this Crypto Ticker podcast. One thing I'm curious about, because I see the travel industry. If you take, you've got the private arm where all the companies are that basically organize your whole travel itinerary and all the things that happen around travel, right? From hotel bookings, trains, flights, all these kind of things, right? Yeah. But then there's also a public interest in, and a governmental public interest in traveling, right? Because you have, once you enter a country, you have to identify yourself. You have to, this information has to be provided to the government. And at least in some countries, we see that specifically the blockchain, currently it's, let's say it's seen rather critical. Is that something that, I don't know, does it somehow affect you and your business in any sort of way? Or is that something you don't really have to think about at the moment?
Well, if you look at the whole globe, there are, of course, countries in general where the handling of tokens, digital assets currently is prohibited, for instance. And the legislation is shifting. So one of our key tasks at the foundation is definitely keep an eye on all the legislation. Here in Europe, we are happy because the MiCA legislation goes into the right direction. We selected Switzerland specifically as well because the legislation framework was one of the best even before MiCA, most advanced. And what we see is that more and more companies are opening up, right? The more and more countries are opening up. We work as well with a lot of tourist boards. We are not working with governments per se, but tourist boards who have keen interest in different kinds of use cases, be it sustainability, the whole ESG topic, the whole visitor tracking, surveys, feedback and stuff like that, which you can do very well as well over blockchain technology. What they like is also the collaborative parts. We even have some tourist boards who below them have, of course, their touristic regions, and they would like to embark into more a DAO structure and do voting on a transparent way. So also using this kind of Web3 features to do their daily business and to coordinate with all within their regions better.
And do you have a specific area which is currently of the most interest for the developers that build on Camino? Is it where, I don't know, just to give an example, the most projects are currently being developed with regards to hotel bookings, or with regards to, like, to stay with the bigger examples, plane bookings or something like that? Do you have like a specific area where, say, we see the biggest innovations or types of projects in a certain niche or area?
The fun thing is sometimes we don't even know what's being built on Camino because it's decentralized and public. Some of those companies, we were also already surprised by getting contacted by a company or seeing a LinkedIn post. We just pushed this out and then we were like, okay, didn't know that. So there's a lot of initiative. We work with startups, and startup area, I would say it's a lot about booking and secondary marketplace. So finding this niche of a business model which is not well known in the travel industry because it's hard to compete against the OTAs which are already established. So you need to offer something else, like Book Travel is doing, or Tycon in Italy is doing. So they are, or Pink Data in the US, they're very much focused on, hey, you can actually transfer your bookings. Flight industry, we see picking up the same. I think the second big pot of activities we see around loyalty. So
I was just about to say that,
So customer loyalty, a lot of companies are thinking or already introducing some kind of non-custodial wallets behind, or custodial wallets behind the Web2 logins, so that they have like a digital wallet behind the My Account. Let's call it My Account. When you go on an airline website, you log in, and that they can play around with any kind of things. So some are thinking of rewarding their clients for any actions, be it a book, referral, you upload some kind of review, then you get some points, right? Here also legislation plays a bigger role, of course, because if you're suddenly doing something with tokens which have a monetary value, then you are in the e-money license thing. So we also recommend always to include early enough the financial department and the legal department in that perspective. But it's all doable and solvable, and really depends in which areas you are active. But most of them start digital wallets, so that's a high interest. Loyalty in any kind, from vouchers you can generate, from redeeming voucher cooperations between companies, and that's actually something where the business network of Camino is very strong, and we help to connect companies to each other. If a company approaches us and says, hey, I would like to find a partner who does something in the airline industry with this and this and this, or I'm an airport, I would like to work together with a loyalty program, can I do something like that? Or we are two loyalty programs, we would like to swap miles or some kind of points, can we do that? And the technology allows for it, actually. You only need to find the two partners and connect them.
That's super interesting. And what is it that, I mean, you personally focus on your daily business? I mean, do you work with developers if you're the CIO, CTO, or what is it that you do on a daily business?
So I myself, I'm not a programmer, so I'm come from the business side. I've always been more focused on strategy, on business and solving problems. I'm more focused actually currently on onboarding. Of course, we have our internal IT team of developers, we have our dailies. I have a really good team. They are all proficient and they're all very, very, how to say, self-guided, experienced as well, and so that's working very fine, so that I can actually help more the companies to onboard, develop use case, because I understand a little bit what the challenges are today. So you can basically say, hey, but you have payment costs, or this APIs, come on, be honest, costs you 30 man days a year and stuff like that. So I am focused on that currently.
Okay. And can you maybe give a feeling? You started in 2021, right? So that was more or less during a overall very bullish market when it comes to crypto, but also with regards to VC capital being available for startups, and the overall economy being basically at an all-time high situation, right? And I mean, that changed massively and drastically. And also, I mean, just my personal experience, but prices for traveling have gone up massively. Is the current economy and the current macroeconomic situation something, or the current bear market also with crypto, something that you see having an impact on you? And if so, in what kind of direction, or is it irrelevant more or less?
So two things. Let's split first the Web3 part from the travel economy. Travel economy, I mean, till 2019, everything was growing, basically 10% per annum, more travelers. Also, a lot of problems are raised, right, like sustainability, over tourism and stuff like that. And suddenly Corona hit, right? And I mean, it was really like a punch in the face, because from one day to the other day, actually all frontiers were closed. So your business model completely endangered. You had people out there, you had still to bring them somehow back. And that took 2 really dear years actually to get through this crisis. I mean, the travel industry is very used to crises. Usually you just send them people somewhere else in the planet. So there's a lot of alternatives. But if the whole planet locks down, so nobody can travel.
Different
and
scenario,
that was, of course, one of the biggest crises ever in the travel industry. So since actually Corona went away and most of the countries lifted their restrictions, travel has picked up. I mean, in some markets, they are over Corona. There was a lot of overcompensating. Liquidity and maybe offering is not back to the same heights when it comes like to number of flights going around, but prices have soared, right? But there was so much demand, and all the suppliers have actually asked now for higher prices than they had initially, because before that there was a lot of price competition. Now there's a high demand, so basically they are improving their margins. So I would say, if not this year, then definitely next year we will see actually in most of the countries worldwide a normalization of the travel, and then it will pick up again depending on the global economy, inflation, all these typical things which have, of course, an impact. When it comes to founding our company, we founded our company in December 21. One of the biggest signs that we were really in a bull market at that point in time in crypto was that the prices for developers were skyrocketed. I mean, it was very, very hard to find affordable
interesting
people worldwide.
Perspective. Okay, yeah, but I get it. Yeah.
I mean, I had interviews, because my first task when I joined the company was basically, Pablo, build up the IT team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did that through my older positions. I had a lot of contact with nearshorers and farshorers company, and basically I contacted them, got some offers. We also put some ads out there. You got a lot of influx from people saying, hey, I can write smart contracts, I can develop nodes and blah, 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 no problem at all, but I want to have 500K.
Yeah.
From people from Vietnam and India. So they were in a global market where they knew their skills were actually on high demand, and they asked for the same payment like somebody in the Silicon Valley. So we then slightly switched our approach. We started working on a strategic level with travel tech companies, telling them our story, what we had in mind, and basically convincing them that working together at a cost sharing model, we are building up the knowledge with their team, and they then can use this knowledge to further develop their own applications on top of Camino, or transit their Web 2 applications in Web 3. And that was the best model we had so far, honestly.
The cooperational model.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe one last comment about the situation there is. I mean, in general, there's still a lot of talk about crypto winter and so on. And yes, it had, of course, also an impact on the project, because we were promoting blockchain. And there is a lot of people who still confuse blockchain and crypto. I mean, we see blockchain as a base technology. It's a decentralized ledger. It's a decentralized database, which can be used for many things. And a lot of companies were like, yeah, but influenced as well by the media and the crypto winter and what happened with FTX and so on, that a lot of companies were at the beginning like, not investing into this. This is a hot potato, so to say. And but that has completely changed. And I mean, now that we are live, that you see the first use cases coming to life, and more it's picking up. I mean, as I said, one of my full-time jobs is actually to onboard a lot of companies. So at the beginning, when we were new, we had, of course, to do a lot of cold calls, reach out to our network, schedule meetings, and now it's switching. Now companies are contacting us, and they want to work with us. So I mean, our marketing as well also is doing a great job with building up the community, Telegram, Discord, all these kind of levels where we started only recently because we didn't know when do we go live. And you don't want to be one of these projects where you just promote things and then there's only a white paper behind that. We went vice versa. We first build it. Now we're building up the community. Now we're bringing the use cases, and then we will list our token on an exchange. So it's maybe an atypical situation, but as we already confounded, we don't have to do actually this way to go listing first to raise money.
To raise money and to then be able to develop further. Which is, in my opinion, the more sustainable approach anyways, right?
Exactly.
Is there something that you're specifically looking forward to this year, which is currently on the roadmap, which you can already state, some developments where you are really looking forward to?
Yes, so one of the things I'm really looking forward to definitely is the go live of our proof of concept of the messaging system. So that will be great to see if it works, because we are building a decentralized messaging on top of our blockchain Camino, connecting it to the APIs. So that will be interesting. We are also hosting a Travel on-chain event in Mallorca this year. Where we invite actually all our validators and companies who are in our network to work with us, and during 2 days in Mallorca. And we will most probably there, basically, it's not us talking, but it's them talking, who already have built stuff, and looking forward to see all these use cases. Because really what's astonishing sometimes about this technology, a lot of people are always booking, like you said. Okay, is it booking? It's the first thing. But there's so many other use cases you can do with this technology that sometimes even myself, who have now spent the last 2.5 years with this technology, I'm surprised what you can do with it.
I can imagine. I mean, obviously, you always have, if you are not part of the travel industry or really deep into a certain niche area, well, that's what you do, right? You book a flight, you book a plane, you book a train, you book whatever, and basically you go on holidays, and that's what you usually would do with, what do I do with traveling, right? So
exactly.
I somehow get it. Cool. Pablo, thank you very, very much for being here and for giving us these insights into Camino Foundation, into Chain4Travel, and into your daily business. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And I can see that Mallorca will be a good event. So keep us posted about that. And thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you. Thank you for the time and all your questions.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. If you liked this episode, feel free to leave us a like, click subscribe, make a review, and be sure to check out our social media channels as well as the newsletter. There, you will always find all the news about the Crypto Ticker podcast. And now, have a nice rest of the day, and until next time.